Hello, and welcome to another exciting edition of PHP. My name is Nate Nestler, and this is for Hyperactive Studios. Alright, so we left off before with, in our case, just going over some of these, and you just need to source these inside of your prompt. So if you forgot to do that after the last video on MySQL, then you'll need to do that. If this isn't real clear, we're just going to come in here to our terminal and enlarge this a few times. And I'm just going to say MySQL space -u. Actually, I can say -h for host, and then I could say localhost pointing to this computer. But if I want to point to another computer, I could do that. But anyways, with -u here, I'm going to say Nate because I set myself to do so on this, and then -p for password, and then -b for getting rid of the beeps. I hit enter. I'm just going to say password for this example. Alright, and I'm in. I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bigger so we can all see it. Boom, like that. Just double click it, makes it easy. And then I'm going to use users. Don't really have to say semicolon afterwards, but I just did anyways. If I show tables, I've already run this, but bam, there they are. And so in which case, all you have to do essentially is go in there and source the file. So now I put it in scripts, so I would literally say source. Now if you didn't go ahead and cd into scripts, you would have to do this. But anyways, /scripts. This slash and then the name of the file. In this case, I believe it was example SQL.SQL, and then I'd hit enter and it'd run and do it. I already got this in there, so I don't need to do that. But if you're doing this, then of course you will need to do that. And then you can run the other script just like that also. So there you go. That's how you go about doing that. And then you can see the results afterwards. All you have to do is select from the different tables, right? So in this case, I need to select from company and profile. So let's select star all different fields from, and say company here, like so. And you should have something kind of like this. Yep, there we are. One entry in there. And that's what you should have afterwards. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to add one more thing to it, and that's going to be profile. So let's check out profile real quick, and bam, there we are. Awesomeness. So both are in there. Definitely need that set up prior to doing the rest of this stuff, because otherwise it won't work. So that kind of matters. Alright. Now I believe we left off with just covering how to do the inserts and things like that, and how to update our records and whatnot, but we did not go into, if I remember right, we did not go into actually doing we'll get into some other stuff, but we didn't actually go into the forms as far as that goes. How to actually submit the forms and do all the different forms and all that stuff. So we need to go over that so that we can make this happen. So let's look at doing exactly that and whatnot. So I'm just going to grab all of these here. So, because before we just did db connect, db delete, etc., etc. We'll get into some of these other ones I've done. Sorry, I've done a bunch, and we'll have a look at those. But for right now, let me just pull up these and let's just break these down. I might have to do this over a couple of videos. We'll see. All right. So before we even touch that, because that's more involved. We have a couple different ones here. We have our company query, we have our description query. We have a lot of different things as far as that goes for setting it up. We have our output, which matters. No, we're not getting into that. Okay. So we have to have a number of these different ones, and they all come back to contact DB query. So let's start with that one first, and then this comes back and calls our DB connection. So we're going to do an opening PHP tag. You're going to save this as contact DB output.php. Okay. I'm sorry. That's the other file. Contact DB query.php for this one. That's it. We'll go to the output one after this. And then we'll go ahead and start coding up the insert, the update, the select ability, all these different ones here. But the main thing is here just getting one of these set up, because once you get one set up, it makes all the others so much easier to do. And you can just copy and paste a lot of this. So you can copy and paste stuff from your other DB queries from before. This one right here, a little bit more involved. We're just doing a select statement on both of these, so you copy and paste from your select one. And we're putting the results in there, and then we're going to handle it however we need to handle it for propagating it into dynamically loading fields, etc. You could use something like jQuery in order to, with a load, to Ajax load the page on the fly and then propagate the fields inside the form here. We'll get into that later on. But basically, you could do that as far as that goes. But and that's really important to do that actually, because PHP on posts and gets ignores everything but the function you're accessing. So watch out for that. You go to do an include, and it just will completely ignore the include or any other functions in there that relies upon it. And next thing you know, you're wondering why on earth things are breaking, and that's why. So you know, PHP is designed to be on page load for being computed, and when you do it any other way, you have serious problems. So you have to make sure that you make that page load execute, and that's what is so wonderful about doing like a jQuery.load Ajax operation. Otherwise, you're gonna have some issues. At least I've run into that. Otherwise, you basically on your post and gets, you need to JSON everything across and handle like that, and then update the page dynamically with jQuery with inside the page with some fancier commands for finding. I'm not getting into it. Anyways, that all aside, let's focus on this right here. All right, so $select equals, and then we're just doing our select. Open single quotes here, select space single quotes semicolon. And then we're going to say $column equals single quotes space star space single quotes semicolon. $from equals single quotes from space single quotes semicolon. $tables equals single quotes company space single quotes semicolon. And $where equals $username semicolon, and then $query equals $select column grammar, concatenating these together, $from tables $where semicolon. Oh man, after a while. All right, and then you can get these different results. And then we know what we forgot to do. We forgot to, on this where here, say, at least I forgot to do it, where name equals dot username, like that. Cool. Kind of important. Corrected this in another spot and then forgot to come back and put it in here. Awesome. Oh man. So yeah, that's kind of important. Otherwise, not gonna work too well. Alright, so $result equals MySQL. Otherwise, I just ignore that last part. It would still work. It's just that it would get all the entries from company and not just a particular one. So yeah. Anyways, so result here, MySQL underscore query here in $query, something like that nature. Okay, and then on one of these, I believe we're going to have to change it up. Now on the profile, I believe that's going to work out for us, but on this one here, I think we're actually going to have to do it by value based on the ID number of the table, as far as lookup, as far as that goes. So we're doing like an associative foreign key here. So if I'm not mistaken, yeah. So there's a name, and that's great for profile, but you may notice there's no name here to say. It'd be a particular company if we did that. So cool and all, but not necessarily what you want. You might want the auto ID on this thing to match up with what we have over here. Now, you may notice that this is set to 0, which would not be the right thing. We're dealing with this particular one here. So we might have to run an update on this to make that one happen. So FYI on that, because that will matter if that doesn't match up. So these would absolutely have to match when you're doing this stuff, as far as that goes. Because if we're selecting this one to match up with this one here for its auto ID and what's returned from our profile. So if we were to get this back, and we say, oh, okay, so the ID here for the profile, like maybe call it user ID or something of that nature, that would have to match up with this, in this case, profile ID. So if we had to call it profile ID over here or something of that nature, then we would need it to match. Yeah. So, just an example here, $ profile ID equals, some quotes, I could say something like 1, semicolon, enter. And if you want, you could do it like that, it's whatever. It is whatever. To me, anyways. I probably only need one of those $signs, just saying. 2 of them would cause a problem for sure. Alright, and so we can get away with that right now. And here we have our username. And then this would have to be profile ID on this one. Right, so profile ID. Like that. If I'm not mistaken, go ahead and double check it on the database. But should match up. Yeah. Profile ID right here. So there we're getting a matching entry here. Well, right now it's 0 and it should be 1, right? Because it should match that. So that's a bit of a problem. So we need to run an update on that. Maybe for the time being here, I don't feel like changing it at the moment. We'll make it a good test when we run our update PHP file. And I just want to do it there, and we'll update it then and there. And that'll make it nice. So yeah, and then we'll come back and grab this and all that fun stuff. Okay. So anyways, a little bit of maintenance there. So with that set up here, let's go drop back in over here where name. Okay, so all this is good here. We have the username as far as that goes, should match up, so we can pull up that username from our profile ID, right? Profile table. And we should get a name match on that. So you technically could use this table, run it first, and then the result you get from this you could actually use to set the value for this down here, and then voila. So if you wanted to, which would be a good idea, you could essentially come in here and swap the order of this. And it's the same exact result both ways. Which is cool. And there we go. So now I'm running this one first. Apparently, not correctly, but there you go, right? Achievement Christmas. Alright. Let's see here. Boom. Alrighty. Profile. Where name equals da 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 da. Nice, nice, nice. Alrighty. Sounds good on the profile. Sounds good on the company value. As far as that goes, awesomeness. So now that we have this here, we could essentially grab the first record, first entry from first record, and assign it to this one here. As far as that goes, because we're selecting this particular username, and if we use the username to then set this for what we got back for a record, then assign the rest. So very, very cool, and that can be done. So essentially I should be able to come in here and say something like, and let me just kind of comment that out like that. Should be able to say $result profile value 0 semicolon. This might be a problem because this might have to say something like 0, but yeah, let's see. There's only one entry in there, or should be only one entry in there, because it's unique on there. And the problem is if we have the same name on multiple ones, of course we shouldn't do that. It should be unique when you do your coding to verify that no one else is in the database except for that one user. But if you didn't do that, you could end up with a two-dimensional array, and in which case you would have to access the first value of the first record as far as that one goes. So we'll try that. That might cause a problem. We'll see. Alright. Anyways, if need be, we can go back to zero over here, comment this out, and do our testing that way. But let's see what happens. Alright. So this way, we're guaranteed that we get the right record number every time based on whatever the user is, and it automatically updates on here accordingly. Oh, right. This is actually record number 1, and this one's not associated with that. Okay, yeah, sorry. So we'll have to update this before we can make use of that. So my apologies. We'll come back and do this later. Yeah. I forgot. We have not updated that. Okay, so yeah, we'll come back and change this back to, this will grab 1, right? I'll show you what I mean. I wasn't thinking. So yeah, I'm setting up the code to have it working later on, but notice how this is ID here is 1. So if I grab the first database array value here from this entry as it comes back, the problem we'll have is that this is actually 0. So when we go do the match on 1 with the 0 here, try to pull up this record, we won't get this record because it's 0 instead of 1. So we'll need to update this record where this is 1 before this will work by grabbing the value from this. So I'm just temporarily putting the 0 in there so it guarantees to grab that value. But in the meantime, yeah, I'm just going to grab 0 as far as that goes. So we'll switch that later when we do our update. Alrighty. So with that right there, yep. Alright. That basically covers our whole PHP one as far as getting the data. So I'm just grabbing the data from the 2 different tables and storing it into 2 different arrays. And then I can just query that data, access it, and do whatever I need with it. Very, very cool as far as that goes. Alright, and so those variables are set up to be used later on. And since we're grabbing just single entries from it, we shouldn't have an issue that be in a 2-dimensional array. And we're also doing our test to make sure, yes, it worked, blah, 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 it didn't die, etc., etc., etc. So that's kind of cool. You could even get more specific with saying, like, hey, the profile died, or hey, blah, blah, blah died. The company table query died on the select when grabbing the information from it. So don't want to get too detailed though when you're dealing with regular users, because if you do, you can basically open yourself up to be hacked easier. So, but now we're just going to include, we're going to create another one. This is contactdb output.php. Right, so now we've gotten the information from both the profile and the company. And now we need to do something with those values. So, of course, we're not going to say 0 because 0 would be the ID number. And that's not going to be very useful. But we do want the company information. So this is the result company value database array that we just used a second ago. 1's going to be the name. 2 is going to be the phone number. So, I'm sorry. First off, I echo out a div. So I'm doing a div here, ID, contact info.text here. Name equals, in single quotes here, contact info text here, close single quotes, close greater than, close single quotes, and semicolon. So that closes that whole thing off. And basically the great thing about this is we can turn around and reuse this later on. We can tag it in our CSS script, and we can position it and wherever we want on the page or whatnot. So this lets us, by putting it inside divs, this is the modern way of positioning things on the page. we can essentially take this whole block of code and position it wherever we want on the page based on whatever we use with our CSS directives for where to place and position things. So very, very cool, very, very powerful, and this is very useful. Okay, well, all right, so we're going to say $name equals $result company value here, and then we're going to do a 1 with brackets around either side of it, semicolon, $phone number equals $result company value, brackets, 2, close bracket, semicolon. And so I'm grabbing the phone number value from this array. If you notice, this is not like magic. I'm not coming up, hey, this is where, I'm grabbing this out of thin air. No, remember, 0 would be this first one here. So I didn't want that for the name. I wanted to grab this, the name, which is going to grab Cybercoders LLC. So check it out. We're looking at name. This is the one I'm grabbing from that field here. So I want to assign to name the second field, which is going to be a 1, right? Because computer starts counting at 0, so 0 is the first field. So that was that 1 for the ID here is going to be the 0 field in that array for our result company value array, 0 for auto ID. Sorry, no, on this one right here. So this particular one here. So then I need to grab the second field, which would be 1 in the result company value, which is going to be Cybercoders LLC. All right, and then we're going to grab the second one here, which is just going to be the phone number. And then the third one is going to be the cell phone. And then the fourth one is going to be the fax number. You get the idea, so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to do over here. So we see, again, yep, phone number is 2, cell phone is 3, fax number is 4, email is number 5. So yeah, you just copy and paste. So you write up one line, copy and paste it several times, and then change it for what's equal to what, and then just start incrementing the numbers. PayPal is 6, address is 7. This is where it gets a little more interesting. We're going to actually concatenate all those different parts of the address, so we just have the address in one line. I don't want to sit there and list it out, street, city, state, zip, like that. I just want to put it all together on one line, so that way it displays it as just a regular address. So that's what I'm going to do here, and that's what's going to make the most sense when you see this. We grab the results from it. So address here equals $result value, company value here, be 7, right? So it's going to grab the street, and then 8 is going to be the city, and then 9 is going to be the state, and then 10 is going to be the zip, and then 11 is going to be the website. So there you go. We now have 12 different values represented here. Well, you skip the 0 part there. But basically that covers our whole entry, and that's what we're interested in. Notice that I'm separating these with a space in between the semicolons each side, and I'm concatenating it together. So this is and then this is a comma here because I want to do address, city, state, zip, etc. together. So this lets you break out the formatting how we want, so it looks the way we want. And then I just kind of went in here and dabbled a bit with CSS, inlining it. And I did it on the I for italicize. So I'm italicizing this. Just did a p tag around this, so I said phone here, colon, and then I'm grabbing the $phone number. So yeah, I could do this like this, but I thought this would be more straightforward. If I extracted those values into these variables and reuse them, I'm not really worried about the performance so much. So I'm just trying to get readability out of this setup. Okay, so I style here equals color, and I set it to a certain color here. So I did FFBBBBB. Now technically I could have done a triple here instead of doing this. So this is also possible for CSS, but I went ahead and just went all out on this. And just did the full 6. But if you have repeating values like that, you can actually do a triple instead of 6 different values there for your hexadecimal value representing your color. Alright, and then say dot, $phone number, dot, and again you can break out GIMP or Photoshop or whatever and get the actual hexadecimal values here as far as that goes. $phone number here, dot, concatenate that with closing I and closing p tags. Okay, and then after you get that basically typed up, copy and paste it over and over again, because it's a waste of time to retype all that over and over again. So change phone to cell, change cell from phone to cell again, and then set your color like so. Left off one though. I have name up here and totally forgot to do it. So just as an example of what I meant by copy and paste, because I am too lazy. All right, I'm just gonna come in here. I'm just gonna add the name. All right, name, name. There we are. That's it. And then I might want to change the color a bit on this. So, I don't know. Instead of BBB, how about we just do like DDDD? Yay, different color. Awesome. I could do CCCC. It's whatever. But anyhow, you get the idea. And so there's the name. And you notice we have name right here, and so that's where I got that from. It's not magical. It came from a particular place. So there we go, as far as that goes. All right, so got the phone number, got the cell number here, got the fax number. As far as that goes, notice this is fax. Change your color values as you go down here, and then email, and then PayPal, and then we can just say address. And so instead of doing that whole big long thing right in here, I can just say address, and it keeps it nice and clean, simple to follow through as we do this. And I kind of like that. And then website, and then we end our div with our echo right here, and we close our PHP tag. Right, so closing PHP tag, and we're good to go. So save. Gets rid of the little star in front of that. Means you haven't saved. So if you ever see a little star right there, means you need to save your file. There you go. Awesomeness. Great, great, great. All right, and so does your output. So after I get this set up, and if I do everything right, I should be able to see this. So it's a great way of testing yourself. If you didn't do it right, then it's not going to show up. So let's do a moment of truth then, which I hate doing on a video considering I did changes to things. So, but anyways, let's try it anyhow. All right, so I basically need to do Nate here slash contact db output.php, I believe it is. Okay. So I have obviously made a mistake. Great. And this is where it kind of gets hairy, because the thing about this is that you can't really tell where it's coming from. So what I want to do is go back to my contact db query here .php and try running that and see if I get an error or not. So that's the best way to handle that. Because if that one errors out, then guess what? The problem isn't necessarily with the output one, it's with db query, which it is. Imagine that. So one of the tricks you can do to help troubleshoot stuff like this, and we're in here, and the problem we have here is that maybe username is not defined anywhere, and so that would be a problem. So $sign username equals, let's see if that's it first, because there's a really good chance that's it. And the name I need to go for is Nate here. So, go with whatever your name is for the entry that you put in there. But for me, it was Nate. Alright, let's try this again. Click. Run again. Okay. Alright, unknown column. Your Nate is. Well, Nate shouldn't be considered a column. Alright, let's output that query so we can see it as a result. So this is a good idea. I like doing this when I'm double testing stuff. So I do echo here query like this, semicolon. Alright. I really need to concatenate that with a BR tag. So let's go ahead and do that. So dot like this, and then in quotes, and let's break out that BR tag. BR/close, bam, like that. Alright, cool. Save. back over here into Firefox and run it again. Alright, so we see what we have going on here. So select star from profile where name equals Nate. Oh, you know what? Yeah, so we didn't say Nate has quotes around it, and Nate needs quotes around it because it is a string. So that's the problem. So yeah, we need single quotes on the outside and then double quotes on the inside there in order to make it resolve correctly. So now if I run this, there we go. And now it worked. And notice that it is now Nate with quotes on each side. And that was a problem right there. And now I don't need to query this out anymore, echo it out anymore. So I don't want to see it because when I run this, I just want it to work. And I don't want to see it. Awesome. So now it just works and I don't have to see it. That's excellent. That's the way we want it to be. Great. Awesomeness. Cool. Okay, and so this works for testing purposes. Cool, so we got our query working now. So let's check out our output and see if our output's doing what we want to do. How about that? Okay. Output indeed. Alright, see what we got. Bam! There we are. And maybe I do want to go a little darker on that cybercoder's name there. It is so light, I can't even hardly see it. So, let me just change that around real quick. Let's go to our output here. Instead of going DDDD, I'm going to do CCCC because it's like that. Because I'll make it a little darker. You know, hey. Alright, it's a little darker. If you can see it well. It's not going to show up real well against white. You know, this is really better set up for a page where it's darker behind it, which was what initially was intended. If you're doing like CSS3 or something of that nature, you actually do a gradient with HTML5, and you can just run a gradient back here with like a gray black type gradient here, and this will pop like you wouldn't believe. But against white, this is horrible. So it all comes down to what you're doing with your background coloring and how you're, balancing your art for your color palette and all that stuff for how it looks. So against white, yes, it looks horrible, but it's going to be a little hard to read here against white because this is not meant to be read against white, but you get the idea. Whereas these black words right here actually be difficult to read against gray. This is going to blend in real well. So of course it pops like crazy against white because nothing's more contrasting than white against black, But as far as the text here going, if you put this against gray, then it's going to blend in more. So, and then these colors are harder to read right now are going to be really easy to read. So, depends on how you do your coloring, your color balance. But anyways, we can see we're getting the correct result. If you're not getting this, go back, look over your code, make sure you typed it up and done it correctly. Okay, awesomeness. Let's do a bit more. And I just need to double check the time on this, make sure I'm not making this video too long. Alright, let's do another one though. And then I might just make this into a longer video, I guess. Possibly. Alright, so I do want to do update. And we want to run an update because, well, we got a problem. And that was the good old, that good old issue here we had with the contact there not being what we want it to be for it. So we updated a lot of stuff here, and we can get down to the website here and whatnot. We get to our profile ID, and let's just switch out the profile ID for the contact info. So, and this deals with the contact array, whatever data is passed to this. You might be going, huh? Well, you see, kind of, we end up turning this into something that's going to get processed coming from a web page. And so what happens here is I can have this description form, right? And query that, and then we can update it here. Ooh, yeah, you know what? Actually, Yeah, we're gonna have to get this here. Alright, now we kind of already did this from before. Essentially, this is the same thing as doing for a form. So the same thing as importing our description. Okay. Sorry, trying to decide how to handle this best. So we're grabbing the right info already over here with our DB, not DB output, but our DB query here. So contact DB query is getting the same thing as what this description query is because, well, yeah, you get the idea. So really, the main thing that matters is just doing this form here. Yeah. And then we can just make use of that. Okay. And I think we'll need to import it though, like we did this here. So we'll need to pop over here and import this to make sure that it executes and takes advantage of this. Otherwise, it won't. So go ahead and include that, like so, on here. And let's just go ahead and do this form. And then when we do the form, we should get the values, automatically propagate this, and so on and so forth. And we should see a form or value set up here. It's the same kind of setup. Basically it's kind of the same thing as what we had before. Huh. It's not really much of a form. Hold on a second. Alright. Anything get set to a contact array? Alright, I'm getting lost in my own code. Yay. How about that? Alright. At some point in time. Okay. Right. This comes from the form. And the form. Oh yeah, sorry. Never mind. I know where it comes from. Alright, let's start with this one because it's a simple one. You will need jQuery to make this work. So you'll need to download that. You can get that from, let me see if I can't show you that. I believe it's just like jQuery.org. Could be wrong. .com. Okay, so it is .org. It's taking a long time for some reason. Anyways, you can come here and you can download this jQuery. And this jQuery, what's great about it, and this is a really popular JavaScript library, and you just need it in order to do some of the stuff. And basically, what's so great about this is that it allows you to essentially do your Ajax coding a lot easier. It does across the board, so when you use jQuery, it's going to work on all the different browsers for the most part. Not totally, but pretty close. There's just so many issues with the different browsers, but it takes care of a lot of that for you for the different version numbers for the different browsers. So that way you can just write one JavaScript type coding, and then it tends to work more often than not on the different platforms and everything. So this is a really good way to do this. You do not want to write your JavaScript from scratch. You will be coding around umpteen different things, umpteen different holes and problems in umpteen different browsers, and you'll go crazy doing it. So you definitely want to use something like jQuery to make your life so much easier. So you can just download the core here, whatever. and then make use of it. So very, very useful. I'm making use of the UI also. And so we're going to do that. I believe, though, in the code, when I do this, I'm actually doing this whole setup here where I'm grabbing it from online and getting this from Google's APIs. Google actually hosts for it. It lets you basically multi-dynamically download multiple libraries at once, and it will speed up the execution of your page because you won't have everything downloading in sequence from one place. Because you're downloading also from Google, it lets you basically multi-thread your downloading. If you download everything just from your server instead of doing it from a multi-server setup, what will happen is it will download each file one by one in order, and it takes longer for the page to load because of that. When in fact they could be downloading multiples at once, and most people have multiple core processors at this point, so it really makes no sense whatsoever to have it simply come from just one connection from the servers, and instead of having it come from multiple places at once and downloading several files at once to your page. Because if you're sending from multiple servers at once, then you can get the data faster to the client, and thus the page will load quicker. So this is definitely the way to go. It's definitely a much better way to do it, and this is what I'm doing here. So basically, that's how I'm setting it up. So up above here is this crazy tag. This crazy tag essentially lets you combine like HTML4 and 5 together as you go in your transitional setup. So this lets you do both together. So this is how you can do that. So open greater than here, exclamation mark, doc type here. Actually, that's less than. HTML public here, close quotes here, dash slash slash w3c slash slash ddt dtd sorry, XML space 1.0 space transitional slash slash en for English, close quotes, open space open quotes, http colon slash slash www.w3.org slash tr slash xml1 slash dtd slash xml1 dash transitional dash dtd, close quotes, open greater than sign, closing greater than sign, opening less than sign, HTML, XML, and S equals single quotes, double quotes here, http colon slash slash www.w3.org slash 1999 slash xml xhtml close quotes space dr equals in single quotes here, double quotes, ltr close double quote space lang equals en-us quotes close greater than symbol, and then we're going to do our head profile equals in quotes here http colon slash slash gmpg.org slash xfn slash 11 space close quotes close greater than sign, and then let's do our link with opening greater than sign, open less than sign, sorry, link space rel. This is going to get our relative reference to our style sheet online from Google. So it's going to do the Google style sheet from jQuery for the UI. And so this is where we're doing a UI CSS. So style sheet here, close quotes, it's going to be CSS. So href, it's going to point to where it is online, equals open quotes, http colon slash slash ajax.googleapis.com slash ajax slash libs slash jQuery UI slash 1.8.13 slash themes slash space slash jQuery dash UI dot CSS close quotes space ID equals the theme and close quotes right there. So that's going to grab that CSS to stylize our jQuery UI. Awesome. And then we're going to say script here equals src equals quotes here http colon slash slash code.jquery.com slash jQuery dash latest.js close quotes open closing greater than sign open less than sign slash script space not space close greater than sign, and that closes off that tag there. So now this will bring in the jQuery from online. You could also reference this in a folder. I created one called JS for jQuery here, but I'm going to comment this out because I'm not going to use this one since I have the one above it set up. So there's no point in using the one down below here. So the way I can get away with that is do that like so, just going to comment this out in HTML. Awesomeness. Great, great, great. So there we go. And that comments out that line because I don't need it. But if you wanted to locally reference jQuery, that's how you do it. If you want to do it from online, that's how you do it. So I gave you an example of how you could do it either way. And there's definitely benefits to both. One of the downsides from doing it online is that from Google or jQuery or whatever, is that if it is the latest one, now you can actually target a particular one, so then you won't run into this issue. But if you say latest on this, it's going to keep constantly putting up the latest one. So if they put out a new release and then it changes and your code's no longer matching what the new latest changes are, then it'll actually break your code and break your page. So be aware of that. Be careful of that. You're developing it, you want to make sure you're up with the latest one, blah, 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 as you're developing. I highly recommend you use a particular number as far as what release number it was for that particular jQuery, so that you don't have a chance of it updating and breaking your page later on at some point in time when they update it. So don't recommend using like latest when you actually release your page. Don't do that. It's not a smart idea, in my opinion. It's my opinion, but hey. Script here type equals in quotes here text slash JavaScript close quotes space src equals in quotes js slash plugin slash jQuery.form.js here close quotes close greater than sign open less than sign slash script close greater than sign. Actually, I don't think this is actually required for doing this one, but if you could, you can actually go and hunt down this form thing and take advantage of it. But I think you can actually just get away with just the actual jQuery code itself without having that, and you'll be fine. And then again, online from Google, we're just going to grab this one here. And this is going to script src equals in quotes here http://ajax.googleapis.com/ajax/lib/jQuery UI/1.8.13/jQuery-UI.min-js. And so this is what I was talking about with the particular number. So there you go. You see an example of that. And notice that number right there has to match up with this number up here. So you have to have the right matching library to go with the right matching CSS file. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem. So kind of important. So after close the greater than sign, and we're going to open the less than sign slash script close greater than sign. Then we say open less than sign here script space src equals in quotes here http://ajax.aspnet cdn. So we have a CDN, which we'll talk about. We're having those multiple downloading things. Makes it a lot faster for your downloads. It's called CDN. .com/ajax/jQuery.template/beta1/jQuery.tmpl.min.js. Now, close quotes, open greater than sign, less than sign, slash script, close greater than sign. Honestly, you don't need this in order for this to work. But there it is if you want it. Okay, now to do the actual Ajax coding. That was just to get the libraries to do the Ajax coding. Now we can do the Ajax coding, but I'm going to inline it. Now I like to inline it when I'm dynamically loading these pages, because that way I don't have to worry about a JavaScript conflict or something not getting loaded that needs to get loaded or whatever. So if I put it directly into the file, I seem to have less problems. If I basically put it as a header type right up here on this file. So if I'm dynamically loading this file into another file, then I typically like to have it put directly into the page instead of being a separate JavaScript file, because if the jQuery can have a fail on another library before it or something of that nature or whatnot, you can run into some issues. So there is that. The other thing is that it just keeps minimizing how much issues you can have. Just realize the more libraries you have loaded at once, it's going to take longer to load that. If I don't need to load this, there's no point in me loading that code in a separate library. And if I have to load those libraries all together on one page, and it's great and all, but that means all that code has to play nice together on that main page and not conflict with each other in order for it to work. So be aware of that. By inlining it directly in like this, it keeps from having as many JavaScript conflicts between, as long as you're not getting too crazy with your dynamic loading. So script type here equals, in quotes here, type equals text slash JavaScript close quotes greater than sign. Some of the stuff might not make sense to you. What I'm talking about for the dynamic loading and all this. We are doing dynamic loading. Well, not dynamic loading, but we're doing dynamic sending of the applications. We are Ajaxing it. When you start dynamically loading stuff and things of that nature, all craziness breaks loose. Let's put it that way. And you have to basically balance things out. And doing that sometimes can be a headache. And so anything you can do to alleviate that is a good thing. So $ open parentheses document close parentheses dot ready open parentheses function open close parentheses open curly brace here, then $ here open parentheses double quotes pound contact submit close quotes close parentheses dot click open parentheses function open close parentheses open curly brace var contact array equals new array open close parentheses. So you actually have to say var on this if you're doing an array like this inside of basically JavaScript. Let's explain this a little bit of this. All right, so this $ document dot ready here. This is make sure that the whole DOM, the whole page is essentially loaded before we start doing any kind of manipulation of our file. Now, we don't want to start manipulating a file with our JavaScript until after everything's loaded. Otherwise, we could be trying to access something that's not even loaded yet and then crash. It's not going to work. So not a good idea. So we want to make sure everything is loaded, the whole page is ready to go. Then we can make functionality work on it. So that's what we're doing here with this. So document.ready, the function here, it's very important to do it that way. I don't have to name my function. This is kind of interesting in JavaScript. You can get away with this because I'm inlining it with inside my procedure here. So it's getting called and defined at once here at the same time, and then it's never used again anywhere else. So you can do that if you're just using it in one place and it's getting called like that without having to name it. And so that's what's going on with that. Open curly brace here, $ open parentheses. This is a way of us actually tagging an ID. So if I say $ open parentheses and then double quotes here and then do a pound sign is important for an ID with the double quotes around it. Contact submit close quotes. This is going to be a particular ID. Close the parentheses dot click. It's going to be what action I want to do on the ID. So on a click action, I'm going to create a new function that I'm not going to name because it's going to run it right here now when I create it. So open curly brace here, var, and then contact array, and then this is where we're setting up creating an empty array, new array, and then we need to assign values to the array. So we don't have to say add or anything like this or append or anything like that to grow our arrays like a dynamic list. So list variable in like some other programming languages. Instead, what we can do is just start assigning values to different elements in the array, and then it just suddenly grows and adds those elements as we assign it. So it's kind of easy to use. So contact array here, open bracket here, 0, close bracket equals $ here, and we have company name here. And again, this is going to be a particular ID, and we're going to get the value from it. So this ID corresponds to the actual IDs from the input values for the different parts here in the database form. So for a form that people are inputting or whatnot, it corresponds to those names. So in the case you see 4 here, right now, or it could say ID on one of the fields or something like that, or name. And here you see name right here and the ID. So the ID is though what we're tagging on this one. So we're saying for this ID, we're going to get the value from this, okay? This is what the dot value. So that's what we're doing over here, right? So company name with the pound sign is going to grab that ID. So from that ID, we're going to get the value that was typed into that form, and we're going to make use of that. So we're going to do the same thing for all these. So again, so that's going to get the company name's value. So whatever typed in the field there next to the company name, for where they type in the company name, we're going to grab what they typed in, basically. That's what this is doing right here. So, well, I'm sorry, to be more precise, that's what this is doing. And then we're assigning that to contact array first field. So this is the first thing we're going to have in there. And then we're going to do the same thing for each one of these, right? So copy and paste over and over again, change, just keep increasing the number as we get down. So we're going to grab the value from the company phones because we want their phone number they typed in. We want the cell phone number that they typed in. We want the fax number they typed in. We want the email contact. We want the PayPal contact. We want the street contact. We want the city contact. We want the state contact. We want the zip contact. And of course, we want the website contact too because we want them all. All right. So when we do that, it's going to insert it like so. and that will let us update it as such. Alright, and then when we post, this will get posted back. So this is where we get into, and I'm not going to get into some of the stuff. Actually, there's a way to serialize this and simplify this even more. But I'm not going to get into this right now, or way of just basically grabbing all the values from the form. But again, I'm not getting into that right now. But anyways, what I can do is I come in here, $.post, and it refers back to, but same $, refers back to this particular function, this page, as it's loaded right now within this DOM. And I can say contact dbupdate.php. So this is the file we're going to call to send this data that we just did in this array. Here, we're going to send this array to this page, to this web page here, the server-side web page, PHP. All right. And then I'm going to send it the contact array, and I must put brackets like this at the end because it's an array, and I must put single quotes around it, and I must put the curly brace around it instead of listing a whole bunch of them. So this is the name in which it goes by, and then here's the actual variable. So you have to do it like this. If you don't do it this way, it won't work. It's actually quite difficult to find information on how to do an array sent through, because I couldn't hardly find anyone that would write up on how this works. But this is actually how it works. Closing curly brace, comma here, and then function, open parentheses, output, close parentheses, open curly brace, and then we're going to say a few things here. Now, the way this works in JavaScript jQuery is pretty cool. And basically, what we have here is we have function output. So we're going to get the result of this. It comes back from, it gets sent back from this page. So when this page is done, it's going to send back the results. When it sends back the results, we're going to store it into a variable called output. That goes into our function, and then we can process that output. So that's what we're going to do here. So for $, open parentheses here, and then single quotes here, £, search results, as far as that goes, close single quotes, close parentheses, dot HTML. So we want to process this as HTML. So I'm telling it I want to put this where this ID tag is. So wherever search results is in the page, it's going to put this output there. Okay, so search results, I believe, is down below here somewhere. I don't know. Well, there's really nothing to see as far as that goes. But if we did have a search results tag in here, it would get displayed there. In the case of the update, we had nothing coming back. But if we did this as a select query, like if we were doing a search query or something of that nature, where we're doing like a kind of like a search engine, then we would have stuff come back, and we would need to display it. We could also have error messages appear here wherever search results is. So it's coming back into search results here. Dot. Of course, this wouldn't be search results; it would be an update. But you could change the name of that to whatever. Basically, we're going to process the output as HTML. So we have to say that. We have to say .html. Okay, treat this as HTML and process it as such. Okay, and then open parentheses. We're going to say output close parentheses dot, and we want to show it right now. So make it display. We could fade it in, and then it can like just fade in instead. But show is going to make it appear immediately. So it depends on what you want. Do you want like a little fancy fade in effect or whatever, or do you want things to just pop and appear immediately? It's up to you for your own preferences, but either way works. But semicolon there, close curly brace, close parentheses, semicolon. That closes off this function here for our post, because we started it up here and never finished it. So now we've finished that. And then we're going to close and finish off our contact submit. So that's where we're going to do our closing curly brace and parentheses, semicolon. And then we're going to need to close off the other one too. Closing curly brace, parentheses, semicolon. And that again gets up into our document ready. So we need to close that one off. Then we need to close our script tag here. And then we need to close the header, basically. Then we're going to open our body tag like this, and I'm going to say PHP at this point. Now I'm going to include the contact dbquery.php. So it's going to query this and get this information. Awesome. And then echo, and then we're going to say div here ID here equals, and single quotes here contact info form close quotes close greater than sign close single quotes semicolon, and then that's going to close it off. And it's going to create the ID with contact info form, and so that matches up with the one we're processing. far as that goes, far as a form. So we can then manipulate that form in CSS. Notice that this is different than the contact submit. The contact submit gets into the button that we want to press to handle that, and that was down here at the very bottom. So yeah, that comes into that button here for submit, and we're overriding the basically overriding that. Notice that yeah, that's the best way to put that. So when that happens, we then process all this. All right. So again, we're just going to get the different values, copy and paste from earlier. That will let you do the same thing here without having to type it up again. So just go ahead and grab this from your output contact db output.php file. This one right here, and then paste it in. There are some more that are more complicated than this one. This is the more basic one. So we're building on, this is part 3, then we'll do part 2, and then part 1. Part 1 is the most complicated of this. So this is a simple version of this for doing contact forms and processing them. So echo here, I'm going to do a form name here, contact form here, equals ID here, equals contact form, close quotes, close greater than symbol, close single quotes here. Field set here, label for equals quotes here, company name, close quotes, close greater than symbol, name, colon, and then we're doing our label like so. And then we're echo input type equals text value equals, we're going to do our name here, ID company name, name equals company name here, and then close the p tag as far as that goes. So there we are, we're updating the field here with the name. We're going to do the same thing over and over again. So it's copy and paste over and over again, and change company name to like company phone number, change the name to phone number, and change this from name to phone number here. And then as far as that goes, let's see, is there anything else? Yeah. Change the ID number here. So change that to the ID to company phone, and change the name to company phone. As far as that goes, to go along with your 4. So once you copy and paste that 4, paste it over here to these 2. So that will let you get them all covered as far as that goes. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing here for cell. So again, copy and paste over cell phone. Do it also for your ID, for your name, etc. Change that to cell number there. As far as that goes, change this to cell number right here. As far as that goes, so on and so forth. And then you're going to do the same thing again, copy and paste. Now you're going to do the fax number. So you go through, paste in those values as you see them there, into each one, as far as that goes. So you see fax number here for your 4. Go ahead and paste that into ID, and then paste that into the name also. And then you're going to have to also put the fax number place for the variable here, $ fax number, right? So it appears with that. And then also the fax number 1 here too for that entry. Then we're going to come down from there. After that, we're going to do the email. So email contact here for the 4 is going to get placed in the ID, and then also for the name, as far as that goes. Very cool. And then you're going to change this variable here, $ email, and then also put email here, like so. So copy and paste that. Same thing goes for PayPal. Exact same thing. So PayPal contact again, PayPal contact again, PayPal contact, PayPal here, PayPal here. Same thing goes here. Street contact, street contact, street contact, and then we're just going to say result company value 7, blah 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 blah. As far as that goes. Now you might be going, well, wait a minute. Why aren't you, basically coming in here and putting them all together? Well, in this case, we want them to be able to type in these different values for the street, the city, the state, and the zip code as far as that goes. So since we want them to be allowed to do that, we're going to need to actually individually put in these different values from our result company value array. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just grabbing those directly, and so that's what we're doing. So this one here is the street as far as that goes, but we're saying street up here, right? And then we're saying street contact, street contact, street contact. And then we're switching over here, and this one, the next one's going to be the city one. So it's going to be result company value 8. So this one's going to be for the city, and city contact, city contact, city contact, city, and then we're going to do the state. So it's going to be 9. So it's copy and paste. State contact, state contact, state contact, and the result company value 9 here, and then the state is here, and they're going to do the same thing with zip here. So again, zip contact, zip contact, zip contact, and then your result company value is going to be 10 as far as that goes, and it's going to be zip right here as far as that goes. All right, and then we're going to do one more, copy and paste, website contact, website here, website contact here, and then website right here. Awesome. So it's going to propagate the fields as far as that goes. All right, so input type button here, value submit, ID contact submit, name equals contact submit. All right, so this is so when they click on it, it does the Ajax instead of actually submitting through the form as normal. Echo field, so that way we Ajax it, that way we don't have the page load a whole nother page or anything like that, or disappear or whatever. So you don't have that happening because we don't want the page to disappear. We just want it to update and nothing change. So it's just like instantaneous, pretty much just about, not quite, but daggone close to it. The user won't be able to tell. It's part of a second. Echo here, field set here, echo the form out, close the div tag, close our PHP tags, close the body tags, close the HTML tags. Okay, awesome. Hopefully you didn't make any mistakes, because if you did, you have to come back and hunt it down and fix it and go back through the video until you find them. So there's all that. You need to type everything absolutely perfect in order for it to work. All right, so one thing I want to point out here is that we got all this working, whatnot, for our contact array, and our PHP came down here, and we imported our contact DB query. Now we did this earlier, so you should have that working from before. Now after that form goes, now remember it processed a particular thing. And so it processed a particular page. The particular page it processed was contactdbupdate.php. So we need to go and code that file so that we can actually make use of this. So that's what we have to do. So include db_connection.php contact array here, colon, parentheses here, as far as that goes. And so it's going to be our connection here. And then a contact array, post contact array. So this is the array we got from our Ajax, from our jQuery, from JavaScript when we sent this over, from the form, from the contactdb form3.php file. So when they click that submit button, this data gets sent here, this array gets sent. And so we're applying this to a PHP array, and then we can access it. So then we're now forming this thing. And one of the things we probably need to change here, and that is that our contact array does not include one field, and we'll need to add that. So contact array 11, so it'll be equal to 1, because we need to update that. And so yeah, run before, right? Because it's set to 0, for whatever crazy reason. So we'll need to do that. Okay. So in addition to that, let's have a look at doing some more of this. So update here goes update the table. In this case, it'll be company from set. Let's see here. Set values here is going to be equal to name equals double quotes. As far as that goes, contact dot operator here. It's the same thing as regular update as before, only it's going to be on steroids because they put all these different array elements into it. The contact array 0 dot for concatenating it. Single quotes, double quotes, comma, space phone equals double quotes, single quotes, dot. This is all one line. So you notice that is not going to multiple lines. So you can go from 12 to 13 here. That is not going to multiple lines. This is all one line. Contact array, open bracket here, 1 close bracket dot, open close, single quotes, double quotes, comma, space cell equals, space equals space, double quotes, single quotes, dot, $, contact array, open bracket, 2, close bracket, dot, single quotes, double quotes, comma, space fax, space equals space, double quotes, single quotes, period, for concatenating it. And then again, $, contact array, open bracket. Now we're going to jump to 5. Wait, no. where we end up at? No, we did facts. Sorry, 3. Oh my gosh, I'm jumping down to the next one already. That's how fast I want to get through this, huh? Close brackets here. Dot. Concatenate. Single quotes, double quotes, comma. Email space equals space. Double quotes, single quotes, dot. Dollar sign. Contact array. Space. Brackets 4. Close brackets. Dot. Single quotes, double quotes, comma. Space. PayPal. Space equals double quotes, single quotes, dot. Concatenate. Dollar sign. Contact array. Open brackets here. 5. Close brackets. Dot. Single quotes, double quotes, comma, street equals, double quotes, single quotes, dot, dollar sign, contact array, open brackets, 6, close brackets, dot, single quotes, double quotes, comma, space city, space equals, space, double quotes, single quotes, dot, dollar sign, contact array, open bracket, 7, close bracket, dot, single quotes, double quotes, comma, space state, space single, space equals, space, double quotes, single quotes, dot, dollar sign, contact array, open brackets, 8, close brackets, dot, single quotes, double quotes, comma, space zip, space 0 equals, space, double quotes, single quotes, dot, dollar sign, contact array, open bracket, 9, close bracket, dot, single quotes, double quotes, comma, space website, space equals, space, double quotes, single quotes, dot, dollar sign, contact array, bracket, 10, close bracket, dot, single quotes, double quotes, comma, space, profile ID, space, equals, space, double quotes, single quotes, dot, dollar sign, contact array, open bracket, 11, close bracket, dot, single quotes, double quotes, space, single quotes, semicolon. Alright. And that's going to give you all your different values for filling it in for your database entry for doing the update. It lets you update all those particular fields, and they're named fields, so it updates those values, and then you do that with your update. So we're going to say where ID equals name equals Cybercoders LLC, close quotes, and semicolon. Now, realistically, we would grab this name from the profile, and you wouldn't just set it like this. So, FYI, you would not do that. You could actually record and store in. I'm not going to get into this. You could actually send back the value back and forth for the actual ID number for the field inside the database, so that we start making applies to that, and that would work better. But basically, that's kind of what's going on here with all this. So now we're going to say where, so and then we're going to say query, and then we're going to put all these together. So dollar sign update dot dollar sign tables here dot dollar sign from dollar sign set values dot dollar sign where dot dollar sign ID lookup, etc. Semicolon. Alright, and then you could query this out with the echo. So you echo query and then dot it with the BR tag, where we're in quotes. Semicolon at the end of that in order to display it if things don't work for you. Because that would be making it obvious, and so you can see the results. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that just so you guys can see what's going on here with this. So basically echo query, $sign query like that, and then I'm just going to dot this again. Our wonderful BR tag as we use all the time. So BR space slash close greater than symbol like that, and then we're going to say result here equals MySQL underscore query space parentheses whatever, it doesn't have to be space space after the parentheses though, dollar sign query space, and then close parentheses semicolon. And that gets the result back. We test to see if the result is an error. If it's not, cool, we're all groovy, it's all good. Question mark, close greater than sign, and then of course results are sent back to our form, and nothing happens because there's nothing to display. Since it is a update, if we're doing a query, it would make sense to display that and get those results, but we're not, so you know, that's not working out too well. So, as far as that goes. Okay, now with all that's in, and there's no mistakes whatsoever in this thing, otherwise you'll just have it disappear on you, then you can come in here. Awesome, right? And you can just simply, yeah, right. Nothing simple about this stuff, right? And then we could say something like contact DB form here. But I want number 3. I don't want the whole enchilada here. I want the simplified one we have. And there we are. So I get all these values automatically get propagated as it grabbed it from the database, and then I can make a change to it. So I can come in here and I could say something like, let me just copy that real quick. I could come in here and say like 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, like that. say submit, and then if I come back to my database here and I go test it, check it out, select, I get 5555555. Notice it also got set to 1 because I made it do that earlier in my page there, and so yes, the update worked. That was it. And so bam, it works. Beautiful. No problems whatsoever. And you notice it didn't have to reload the page or nothing. It was just totally dynamic. And I can change it back, pasting that back in, and say post, submit, post, same thing. It's the same thing. And then now it's back to 467 in the database. So you notice we're actually getting the values from the database, displaying them on the page, updating them, which sends a query back to the database, changes the data in the database, and then we're grabbing the data again, displaying it. So wow, yeah, all that happening really fast, really quick. You can't even tell it happening. It's just that fast and beautiful. So very cool, and that is essentially how you can Ajax a simple Ajax of a page for posts. We'll get into more complicated ones next here in the next video, but that's going to cover it for this one here, and then we'll get into database programming with object-oriented programming as far as that goes. A whole list of examples of that stuff, and then we'll dive in even deeper into more stuff, dealing with databases, dealing with error catching, and so on and so forth, sessions, etc., as we dive more and more and more stuff on this. So very, very cool, and then you will get to know how to do more and more things that are actually kind of complicated, but extremely useful and extremely important for getting that really fast response. The problems we have right now, though, is we're not dynamically checking. We can dynamically check server side, but we're not dynamically checking any of this data client side to make sure it's okay. So we definitely want to also check it server side, but if you're not cleaning your code and checking it client side too, then basically they have to post their form to find out that there's a mistake or a problem, and then they have to enter all that data back in again, and that really sucks, right? So if you do your error checking client side, then basically what happens, in addition to server side, you can't do it both on just client side because then a hacker can bypass it by disabling JavaScript. But if you do it only on, if you do it on both server side and client side, basically it lets people have a heads up about problems on the page for information that was not updated, not entered, and then they'll have to go in, and then they can just go in and easily make change to it and not have to have it sent back to the server to find that out. Not to mention that saves you a lot on your internet traffic and lowers your cost of your server, allowing you to handle more and more people with less cost because you're not having to send as much data back and forth. And not to mention, since you're doing Ajax here, you're not actually sending all the information of a whole page. You're only sending minimal information from the array for data that's going back to the server side, so that minimizes how much data you're sending back and forth, thus saving you money and saving time and executions on the server side here. So basically, you're saving money too. So you're making it easier for someone to use it, and you're also saving money for server computations. So very cool. Optimizes it more or less. So with that, my name is Nate Lusser for Hyperactive Studios, and we'll hit up more of this in the next video. Thank you very much.